Welcome to Architrave Gaming. I'm the Archmaster. Thank you for dropping by. This is a video mainly inspired by a new buddy of mine, Uriah from Roll On Buddy. He made an excellent video about GM re-narration, which is really a concept that you find often talked about in 4D role-playing space, where the players should have complete responsibility for narrating their own actions, right? You say, I swing my sword at his chest, or I, take my hammer and bludgeon his head, right? Instead, what you see in a lot of modern, 5e and just modern new school style of play is the player giving this rather limp indication of their actions. Oh yeah, I attack. And they're not actually describing anything. They're not actually role-playing. They're not embodying the character. They're just giving a vague direction. Yeah, I move up and I attack. I cast a spell, right? They're not actually saying, yeah, I take my sword out and I, swing at his chest and I pivot and dodge his attack, etc. They're not doing any of that. And the consequence of that is that they leave all of the description of their character's actions up to the GM. Which means it's the GM's job and burden and burnout to have to describe not only the actions of all of the NPCs, but the actions of all of the players and all of the player characters as well. So this is a problem for two reasons. One, the GM is overwhelmed. They shouldn't have to describe everyone's actions. Players, that's your job to describe your own actions and be proactive and do your own stuff. But it also creates, you're not really sure which came first, the chicken or the egg. Did players stopped describing their actions and then GMs started doing it for them, picking up the slack? Or did GMs get into the habit of describing everyone's actions so the players learned, yeah, I guess I don't really have to be proactive and take initiative and describe anything because the game master is always going to do it for me? Because after all, they're the game master. They're in charge. They have to narrate everything. It's essentially a problem of not giving players enough authority. And players, you have authority to narrate your own actions. That's your character. You can say, I swing my sword at his head. You don't have to let the GM do that for you. Anyway, something we realized is that a lot of this probably either didn't originate with him because he was already doing it, but a lot of this I think was popularized by people watching live plays, specifically Matt Mercer and Critical Role. This is a big problem that they have, and that I'm going to show 9 examples of just in the very first fight of the very first episode of Season 2, where I started. And this is what trained me as well. I saw Matt Mercer doing this, and I saw all the players just giving an indication of their action, and Matt just coming in and taking, bearing all the burden of actually describing something cool happening, that I thought, oh, well, that's how it's supposed to be, right? I'm the entertainer, the narrator, etc. But it really ought not to be this way, especially in what I propose, which is the Arch game. The most fun you can have with your brain, full player agency, full role-playing, right? You don't leave it up to other people. The GM is an arbiter, they are a referee, but you as the player are in charge. So I just thought I would bring up a few examples as quickly as I can to show you what I'm talking about.
Weapons out for this turn.
Okay, so you'll spend your action kind of throwing them out to the individual. So your short sword and crossbow kind of clatter to the ground and you quickly scramble to grab them. Caleb's dagger falls at his foot. Your staff gets tossed quickly from behind you. Your falchion meets your arm.
Okay, so he tells them, so yeah, you take this action, you throw all of the weapons out to your allies, right? Because Yasha there, she's like, oh, yeah, I want to throw them all their weapons. But she doesn't actually embody it. She doesn't say, oh yeah, I take my weapons and I, throw one out to Caleb and I throw the staff to Beauregard, right? She should be doing that. That's full embodiment, full roleplay, that's immersion. You can tell Yasha is not immersed. The player at the bottom right here, Ashley Johnson, she is not immersed. She's not in character. I'm really there, I'm in the world, I'm seeing the world through the eyes of my character, right? Like you're in a reverie, a dream or whatnot. She's not there. She's like, oh yeah, this is the good tactical option, I do that. And Matt Mercer is the one that is the most immersed. He's imagining being in Yasha's shoes, throwing the items out. He's envisioning the scene in his own head, right? This is why a lot of people feel drawn to being the game master instead of the player. It's because the game master is usually the one that is the most immersed. The other players don't really get immersion. They just kind of give instructions. They're like a director watching, a movie on a set, and they say, oh yeah, this character should do that, right? Yeah, my character should do this thing. But they don't get up out of the director's seat, go on set, and put on the costume and actually be the character. Like, I'm going to actually be this person acting in the scene, right? And I'm not saying you have to use your arms and you have to, stand up or anything, but I'm saying, mentally. Mentally, they're sitting in a director's chair telling their character what to do. And the game master is usually the one on set, so to speak. They're immersed in the world, imagining stuff. My whole argument here is that the players should get the privilege, the enjoyment of actual immersion. The players should get to be the characters in the world, right? No more should it just be the GM. Like, it never should have been. But in the Arch game, if you play it this way, if you play my system in the Arch game method, then no more is the game master, which isn't called the game master in my system, by the way. He's the arbiter, because he's just a referee. He's just an arbiter. He's not the master of the whole game. The players, you are the game master players. You're in charge of the game. You're in charge of your characters, and your characters are the center of the game. It's not the arbiter. He's just off to the side, right? Like any referee in any game. Anyway, no more will you have this lackadaisical, oh well, I do an action, right? It's like, no, you're going to be totally immersed. You're going to be required to be totally immersed, because arbiters in my game, in my system, if they actually do what I tell them to do in the GM's guide, in the arbiter's guide, they are, if they're actually doing what I recommend, they're not going to narrate the player's actions at all, the character's actions. They're not going to say, oh yeah, you pick up your sword, you cleave him, you do X, Y, Z. They're just going to let you do that, right? They're going to say, what does that look like? How do you do that, right? Coax you along to be like, oh wait, this is I'm allowed to do this? Yes, you are. That's a big problem, is that players don't think they're allowed to narrate their own actions. Like, I hit him, like I walk up and I attack. And then the GM decides, based on your damage roll and your attack roll and all that, that's enough to kill him, so you stab the sword. No. You as a player can say, I run up, I swing my sword right at his neck, and you roll 18 to hit, 20 damage, and the GM says, kills him. And then you say, I slice his head off with my great sword and kick his body down, right? You get to do that. Your job, right? That's not the GM's job to do. Anyway, let's move on. Here's the next example.
You actually walk through.
That's a falchion.
You rush through Jester's form. You watch the kind of image kind of dissipate as you kind of charge through it.
So he decided, you watch, you see this thing, which, you could say, oh, well, I mean, come on, obviously he's just describing what you see. That's a minor issue. It is still an issue, but it's a minor issue. But you watch, you see as you charge through it. Why doesn't Ford's player actually say, yeah, I charged through this, this duplicate form, right? Well, why doesn't he decide, yeah, I pushed through the form, and then the GM can say, it dissipates, or even you see it dissipate as you move through it. They says, yeah, I charge up to the enemy and swing my sword, right? Player immersion, player description, right? It's your job to actually, it's not just your job. It's not this terrible hard job like you're pushing carts at Walmart like I have to do. It's actually fun. Like, this is the immersion. Players, if you're not doing this, you're missing out. This is the fun of the game. This is the embodiment of the character, the immersion, right? It's very close to even the roleplay itself, right? This is the embodiment of your roleplay. You mentally think, oh, I do this thing. But, like, roleplaying in your head, I'm just going to sit down and roleplay what a character would do. Right? Thinking, like, that's not fun. That's not it. That's not why we're here. We're here because we want to embody it. We want to do it, right? We do it through our narration. That is how you embody your character. Just like Uriah said in his video, it's actually, the equivalent to playing a video game with the controller, right? If you simply give a direction, like, oh yeah, Game Master, I walk up and attack the person, and then the Game Master is doing all the description, that's the same as you saying, hey, bro, grab the controller, play the video game for me, get up on that ledge and look around. And then your brother's sitting there with the game controller actually playing the game, right? Your game controller is your narration. That's your job. That's your privilege. Don't put that burden on the GM to pick up 7 different controllers and play everyone's character, and you're sitting there just watching, right? That's passive. You're just consuming it, right? His job isn't to entertain you. It's your job to, like, it's your privilege, again. It's the whole fun of the game. It's your right as a player to embody your character and describe your actions, right? And you don't have to be afraid. If you would be taking an action, like, I chop off his head with my sword or whatnot, but you don't do enough damage, the GM can very easily be like, the sword sinks into his neck, but it's not enough to cut off his head. He can correct you easily, but also, you should declare the actions, but not necessarily the results until you've been given the results. So you don't say, I cut off his head with my sword. You say, I swing my sword at his head, and then when the GM says that's enough to kill him, then you can say, I cut it off, right? Moving on.
So as you turn, as you push the child out of the way, putting your pocketed diamond out in front of you, you focus and you watch as this beam of light blue energy streaks past, just barely coasting between a few heads. It slams into this creature, as crystals kind of form where the wound and impact was.
Okay, so again, that whole thing is, you push the child out of the way. You hold the diamond out in front of you. You see this beam of light path. Again, it's like the players, you could be doing that. You have full authority. You have the right. That is your right. That's your birthright. You're born on this planet and you're playing a game where you're supposed to be role-playing. Role-play. Embody your character. It's so much more fun. Believe me. Actually, you don't have to just trust me. Try it out. Try describing all of your own actions. And if the GM ever starts to describe your action, you can simply say, GM, actually, I'll do it. Or like, GM, are you describing my character's actions? And the GM's like, oh, I'm sorry, do you actually want to do this? And you're like, yeah. And then you describe your action. And watch as your GM looks relieved. They're like, oh my goodness, the player actually wants to describe their own actions. This is awesome. One less thing for me to do, right? You're not being rude. It's okay to be like, hey GM, I'll do this. I'll describe my action. Or, don't spring it on them in the middle of the session. Talk to them beforehand. Hey, I just watched a couple of videos, one by Uriah and one by the Archmaster. And like, they told me I have the authority to actually describe my own character's actions. Imagine that. I have the ability to play a character and roleplay them. So I want to try it out in the next session, GM, and watch their face light up. And Matt Mercer knows that it's more fun for the players to actually describe their own actions because we have the famous "How do you want to do this?" where sadly Matt Mercer lets them actually describe their actions only at the final blow of the final enemy of each encounter. And that is this big highlight in the game. Yay! How do you want to do this? I get to describe my action. I finally get to roleplay. I finally get to describe my own character's action because now I can't mess anything up. Look, if you just have decently skilled players who know how to describe their action and not mess something up, right? Like I said previously, you say, I swing my sword at his head. You don't necessarily say, I swing my sword and decapitate 3 people, right? It's like, no, you can't just declare the end of the action. You declare the start of the action. You declare what you do, right? Not necessarily the result. As long as you have players who are abiding by that rule, and they walk up and say, I swing for his chest and his head, and etc., then you can always do that. And the GM never has to have this one special golden star moment. Now you get to describe your character's actions. How do you want to do this? Like, no, come on. You should be able to have that moment every single turn, every single action, all the time. You are constantly describing what you do and how you do it, right?
Both?
Yep.
Great. So after the grapple fails and it pushes you away, you go ahead and pull back and then leap, kick it in the chest, and then uppercut it in the chin.
Yeah, that's cool.
So he tells her, all right, you do all these really cool things. You leap, you kick it in the chest, you hit it. He's describing what kicks, what punches, where they land, etc. And then his wife is sitting there and she's like, wow, yeah, that's cool. Like, oh, what a passive way to play. I wouldn't want to be at a table where the game master, the arbiter, took all my power, all the coolness of my descriptions. I didn't get to embody. I didn't get to make any decisions. And the game master is just like, yeah, this happens. I'm like, oh, well, I guess that's kind of cool. Like, what did I even do on my turn? I just, gave an indication, I want this thing to happen. And the Game Master takes off and has fun with it. The Game Master is having all the fun. They're doing all the description. It not ought to be this way. I had 9 examples, but I don't want to make this a 40-minute video. So I'm going to end it there. Thank you for watching. Thank you for liking and subscribing. I have a Patreon. We have a Discord server. We have over 50 members now, including Uriah. He's actually in the Discord server. Super cool. Thank you very much to Blake Russell, my very loyal patron. I know I don't give you enough shout out or anything, but this dude's been with me for a year. It's wonderful. Anyway. Thank you for watching, liking, subscribing, feeding the algorithm, all that stuff. And if you happen to be a millionaire that gives away more of your money than you keep, because you have to give it away to charity to avoid taxes and whatnot, can you give me $1 million? Because I have a really cool game system in a world 5 million words big, and I really need to quit my job pushing carts at Walmart and lower my stress levels. As you can see in one of my last videos where I was just angry at everything. I really need some money to actually work on my projects full time. Anyway, thank you for watching. Y'all have a good day. God bless.